Hi, my name is Heath. Welcome to SYNCcast. Today I have Brent Nacu, who works for App Solve. And Brent, tell me a little bit about your company.
Hi, Heath. It's great to be here today with Commercient. Appreciate our partnership. App Solve is a certified Salesforce implementation partner and consultant. We basically exist to help customers have an extraordinary experience when it comes to the implementation, decision, and sort of growth of Salesforce related to their business.
Excellent. And tell me about your role, Brent.
I specifically oversee a team focused on net new business. What we do is we target specific industries, mostly in the SME and mid-market, who really might have some pieces of digital transformation going, some not at all. And we can really add a strong value by bringing the Salesforce conversation to the table, or by really optimizing other parts of the business regarding Salesforce they might have and haven't really been paying attention to or were aware of.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you bring that up, that some companies have a little bit of the digital transformation. And you and I spoke about this before, that I'm still stunned, and I shouldn't be, after 5 years with Commercient, that there are a lot of businesses, a lot of bigger businesses that I would expect to be on CRM like Salesforce that are not. And so when you go in, and if they're not on Salesforce, where are they at on their journey of digital transformation?
So, I mean, you can't just piecemeal this as a sort of a broad, brush stroke. This really is vertical specific. This wouldn't apply to, for example, a lot of health sciences. But where we would see, that target audience you're talking to would be in industries like manufacturing.
Oh yeah.
For sure in commercial services, industries where actually, they've scaled and they've actually got to a great run rate. They might be making 50, 100 million or more, have a decent amount of employees. And how they've gotten there though, has been by using sort of systems they knew and just implementing what they could. For example, we'll run across manufacturers who have just scaled because they have the right proprietary technology, been at the right place at the right time, and they've managed to run their business off, say, a single ERP. And then adding a sales team was secondary because they already had business coming to the door. And so we see the same thing with commercial service businesses. They might be running, a very large appliance repair, or electric companies that have just been in the right place at the right time, scored some great contracts, run a good business model, but sales was never part of it. So managing growth, managing the top of a funnel, marketing the brand, and sort of scaling was left a little bit from the forefront because it wasn't it wasn't the strength of, say, the executive team or the owner or CEO.
Gotcha. Understood. And how is your approach when you talk to these companies? Do you analyze where they're at and how Salesforce and the apps that go along with Salesforce can help them?
Well, that's pretty much the primary focus of our core initial conversations. Where are you at? We can't help you if we can't understand your business processes, your existing workflows, your integration or lack of integrations. How do you have automated? How much are you manually doing? So once we get a little bit of that backdrop, that storyline, and they open up the kimono, we can really have a better insight. It's interesting. Here's gaps, here's missing best practices, here's opportunities for you to implement solutions we've seen very successfully done at other firms, in similar positions. And a classic example of that, Heath, would be, we'll run into manufacturers who are literally using a single ERP to run the whole business. They'll be taking an Epicor and they're using Epicor as a CRM, as their main ERP, and then as part of their finance system. And they're trying to bridge it all for everything. And that's an example of, say, a bit of a missed opportunity where the business can really have a more robust approach to scale and understanding automation and just optimizing its day-to-day operations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a great point about how these businesses, the sales staff is there, but it's almost secondary because they have such great contracts. They're at the right place at the right time and great relationships. But do they see a need to grow beyond where they're at, or do they find themselves like almost at a plateau and they're stuck there? And I mean, no matter what happens, we're very much a global market, and even if it's a company in this city, they may want to move into another city. If they're in Detroit, they may want to move into Canada, into Toronto, or down into around the Great Lakes and everything. Is that really the big motivating factor for them to really want to take that sales and go beyond just, okay, let's maintain the relationships, to we need to find new business?
Well, I mean, I can't speak to every CEO's mindset, Heath.
Sure.
So based on SME, for sure, I would say from an SME model, you hit your $1 million plateau. You might even get to 5 million or 10 million. And you haven't really implemented much. And so that's the first sweet spot you'll find. Eager owners who are either haven't been acquired or really want to scale, but are sort of missing the mark because the business already grew. So that's that first sort of that engagement pool. And then you'll have a little bit more of the successful companies mid-market. They already maybe have hit 50 or 100 million. They've already been acquired. Sometimes there's a push down of certain systems. Sometimes it was acquired just for some PE leverage or whatever other angle there was. It could have been a lucrative customer base, just territory advantage. And what will end up happening is they sometimes are left a little behind, and no one's really helped them really engage digital transformation. Leadership change, might happen, and you end up with that core management group where, what do we do? Are we being encouraged to grow and to scale, or are we just part of a bigger parent unit? And so we see it across the board in every way. Sometimes it's cohesive and well executed. Sometimes it's fragmented. Sometimes there's nothing there and there's just ambition. So it's really about understanding all of these different players and what's the best practice for them. And that's what a company like App Solve comes in and do. Hey, where are you at? Okay, let's see, what are your processes? Got it. Here's some suggestions of building out a roadmap that we've seen success. And here's an ROI you can actually factor in. Is it going to find unrealized revenue? Is it going to help you optimize, a waste in labor efficiency or operational hours that are being thrown away that really could be repurposed? Is looking at service side of the business or customer integrations and just a lack of automation or a lack of coherency. So it's really about understanding the gaps and the pain points and figuring out where can Salesforce add tremendous value. And that really segues well into why this conversation with Commercient is happening today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I hear that a lot. It doesn't matter the ERP, but I hear Epicor, I hear Job Boss, different kind of manufacturing friendly ones. And so when they get off of that ERP in terms of, let's get the team on a dedicated system like Salesforce, where does that value come in for Commercient to integrate that data, that Epicor, that Job Boss, that whichever ERP platform, and sync that data over? How does that help your customers?
So so it's really a trifecta if you want to look at it. We create the relationship with the customer, and we're promoting Salesforce. Salesforce then is able to come to the table. Here's the license models. Here's the different aspects of the business that you can really leverage. Is it going to be the marketing side? Is it just going to be the sales and CRM? Is it going to be the service side with the field service components? Is it going to be the financial integrations? And then there's still additional, you can go in different directions with Salesforce. It's so robust. What's great about it is almost everyone could, benefit from having a certified partner who's really a best practice engineer and partner navigating through this process. Where Commercient comes in as the win-win here is, we're spending time with Salesforce administrators. We have our team is built with Salesforce developers. And so we're great at doing all of these, these implementations for the customer. What happens is, you end up with a number of customers in industries with ERPs, for example, and they've been running that business for the ERP for a number of years. And they start seeing the light of day. What would it look like with a standalone CRM? What would it look like with a service side customer flow powered through? I can see an umbrella of everything in my business from the first day we ever sent an email to the last invoice we've ever sent over 25 years. And what ends up happening is the customer is really excited. And the value Commercient strategically brings is most of these Salesforce partners, we don't have either the bandwidth or the expertise to go back and spend the time to reinvent customizations, rejigging APIs or creating some sort of an integration that specific customer might have. Particularly, there's legacy ERPs, there's modern ERPs, wherever they might be at. Commercient has done the heavy lifting, which is the real value they bring to the table. So the partners can focus on, here's the Salesforce solution. and we're able to easily plug and play, bring Commercient to the table and say, they've done this work for us. We're not going to go spend, X amount of dollars on, redesigning these integrations when it's already been done for us. Out of the box, a lot of the time, native, easy to work in, and it's a pretty seamless experience. So the customer still gets to keep their ERP, still familiar with everything they're doing, and then they get that quick, easy, reasonably well-priced bridge to really just expand the business and keep everything going in the direction they want it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. Now, you and I had also spoken prior about Salesforce has their field service management, which is great for, we'll say an example would be like a plumbing company. And I've heard stories. I have friends that are in those types of industries where if they have vans out and people are doing emergency calls, and it's got to be quick, they could be sending them, and with gas prices the way they are, they could be going everywhere. And then they're trying to invoice, they're trying to see if they have the part, they're trying to see if another van has a part. And then maybe the invoice doesn't even get paid for a month, 2 months. And you had kind of spoken about kind of more of the advantage of the field service management, where they can do better, service calls. They can kind of map out where their workers are going to be, and then they can see with Commercient syncing, like, okay, well, this van happens to have maybe this tool or this particular part. But more importantly, I think is just being able to take care of especially existing customers that they're revisiting. They can quickly pull up the information from their last visit and then take payment on site in some cases. So I'm kind of selling it there a little bit, but I wanted to get kind of your thoughts on field service management and why it is important to certain sectors, obviously not all of them, but some of the sectors that you guys serve in North America.
So just to start off, App Solve actually was the first field service implementation partner in North America for Salesforce.
Wow, that's spectacular.
That was back in 2016. And so we're speaking from experience here. Just to give some quick context, service operations in North America, whether it's from the Keys to the California coast, whether you want to to the top of Maine or to the west coast of Vancouver, they are really the bread and butter of a lot of operations, helping everything on the B2B side and the B2C side. Everything from forklift operations to machinists and manufacturing, everything from appliance repair and electric companies to utilities, water and waste. So everyone's got operations where humans are specialized in certain functions as field techs, and then you have vehicles. So you have a combination of fleets and you've got a combination of techs, and they're just crisscrossing this entire continent consistently. And Salesforce saw this in the early 2010s and realized there's a huge opportunity for us to bring this under the Salesforce umbrella and build a service cloud component, really addressing those pain points. And that's really where this started. What it addresses are all the problems that you just mentioned. Asset inventory, mobile tech information at the fingertip on a job site, route optimization, territory utilization, dispatching and service automation. So it's really about the entire umbrella of being able to run a small business or a world-class business. You can have literally 2 techs or 20,000 techs. It doesn't make a difference. But the difference to you is being able to have visibility, ease, automation, transparency through all of those steps of the service part of your business. Customer calls you and need a work order. Most of the companies that ever started and to get to where they need to have a paper work order. Salesforce you're digitizing work orders. Then you're digitizing the service order, which is the response, and integrating with your financial systems. So overall, it's really a win-win for service companies who really get to pick and choose. If I don't have a huge fleet, then maybe maybe certain elements aren't relevant. If I do have a really wide territory, I need to map my gas and my mileage really specifically, so I'm just not burning the wrong place at the wrong time. So ideally, it really is a strong value add for anyone in the service industry, regardless if you're using Salesforce or not. I highly recommend a field service software as a must-have for any business in 2022, particularly if you're in the service industry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I know some guys in the air conditioning business, and they ended up dispatching that. And it has worked miracles for them. And it just makes things so much easier. They're not, I think the very least is they're able to manage their billing better. They're able to manage, what they're doing. And the paper thing, I think, even going back to Salesforce, I think I shared with you, I've talked to companies that are doing millions a year, and for the longest time, they were still using paper. They were using Post-it notes. I think I shared that story where, the sales team is here and there's a doorway into the manufacturing part of the company, and they would put an order on a Post-it note, put it up there. And if that's your, $30,000 order, you better hope that Post-it note doesn't fall. The customer told me that. And that would be customers, their own clients saying, hey, where is this shipment at? This is, 30,000. We already made payment and everything. And Salesforce really just kind of, I think it centralizes the data. And I know that with Commercient, it kind of keeps them in there. They don't have to jump into the ERP or call accounting or inside sales, say, hey, I need a report. One other thing I wanted to chat with you about is best practices. App Solve, I don't think, or I should say, I do think what I like is you're not like a numbers company of we're just going to do high volume, give a little training, and then we're out and on to the next. Because I know that some of your clients have been probably burned by that. And so you guys can come in and help them with some extra training and best practices. But I know that with some companies, going from a spreadsheets and Post-it notes to Salesforce can be a little bit tough. How does App Solve handle helping them out beyond just training, but with adoption, so that way they are getting those best practices?
So Heath, it starts off with a really powerful, flushing out of the scope of work, understanding the customer's existing business model, understanding those practices, and then you're able to see where's the pain points.
Yeah.
So whenever it comes to digital transformation, there's an inherent, coordination with change management. When you're going to shift culture, you need to be able to do it in a way that manages expectations, personalities, and behaviors, and just different departments that have been operating in different aspects. So what we do is this: we come to the table with a formula. Here's the formula. It's usually recommended that we, a multi-phase approach, so that you're not dumping too much at any one time on a whole business unit or an entire company. Everyone, let's change everything today. Get used to it. Here we go. And so what we'll do is we'll start with where's the key pain points. What's the number one thing we want to really address? Let's work on that. Then as we implement it, you're using an agile method. So you're never actually just saying it's a start and stop. You're implementing slowly. And as you're doing it day over day, week over week, customers getting used to it. Perfect. New system here. Great. This is how we're going to do that. And so it's not, I don't know anything to I have to know everything system. That's not going to really support the mindset. They're doing their day-to-day job. To just learn an entire new system of operating is a lot. And so the best practice here is making sure that they're properly trained in incremental steps. So as you're implementing new behaviors that are mapping out to new systems and processes, those two are coordinating at an access point that makes sense. I'm comfortable with what I'm learning. I don't feel overwhelmed. This makes sense and is working for me and my team. And you just keep building on that and cascading. And that's the real formula to great customer success, particularly related to change management, when you're using digital transformation, bringing in brand new systems, or optimizing things like the ERP with CRMs and changing people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I talked to an actual customer who had been using, he and his team had been using Salesforce for about a year or two when I spoke to him. And he says once they were able to really adopt it and use it, not everything like you said, but over time they were starting to adopt a couple more things. And he said it almost, as weird as it sounds, it almost becomes in the background because they're just so used to Salesforce, and they'll go out of their way to say, geez, where would I be without Salesforce? Don't get rid of this. This is huge. And then, I'm like, well, what about Sync? And they go, well, being able to pull up their quarterly sales at any given time, so they're not waiting until the end of the quarter and 2 weeks later getting a report and they saw one of their clients, dropped off and it's too late to save them. They can jump in at any given time, but time and again, I've heard that they say that once they really get working with Salesforce and they're using best practices, it kind of goes into the background, but it is something that they need more than anything. And it helps them to manage their relationships, find new business, et cetera.
Got that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thanks so much, Brent, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Heath. And for anyone who's watching this video, Heath, my only takeaway would be, working with companies like Commercient, App Solve, Salesforce, there is a very transparent ROI. It's just about, putting a little bit of the focus and understanding where, but those unrealized revenues, optimizing, poor practices, it's costing businesses money all the time. And businesses like us are all really supporting, new customers to get out of that hole, to see those blind spots that they might not see. And so I would definitely encourage anyone who sees this video to, reach out to either, Commercient, to App Solve, to Salesforce, to find out how they can really, shift the quality of their business and take advantage of those missed opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Brent. You take care.
All right. See you.